Hi everybody, this is A7X Ben, and today I'm going to go over my basic rules, as I call them. This is a document I created in May of 2017 because I'm kind of unsatisfied with the complete game rules for Pirates a little bit. I mostly like most of the rules, but there's some things I think should be tweaked a little bit. And I had been meaning to do this for a while because I enjoy teaching new players, and it's a little confusing because the start here rules and the complete game rules are in two different booklets. And I thought it would be really good to have a streamlined document that not only combined the two different rules booklets, but also added and changed some of the rules to make the game a little more realistic and, in my opinion, a little bit better. So here we have my basic rules. There's two different versions. The only difference between them is that the Microsoft Word Docs version basically uses the Windglass font, but a lot of people don't have that downloaded already, so it probably wouldn't show up properly. So I also have a PDF with a more common font. So here we have the PDF document, and right away you can see the start here rules. The first page is basically the start here rules and rules of the high seas, which appear on the complete game rules. So I had to finagle this around to get the start here rules to fit all on one page. And I didn't want to include all of the different like assembly guides and everything because that would take a while and it would be kind of just cluttering it up and making it longer. I wanted the document to be as short as possible. So I got it to fit, if it's double-sided, you can print it on 3 pieces of paper because it's 6 pages total. So the first page is basically the start here rules. You can see that part, and then you can see the details of what the ship can do. And then at the bottom here, I had to shrink this down quite a bit, but when it's on a piece of paper, you can see it. It's kind of similar in terms of the font size to the complete game rules, actually, which are pretty small font. So I have all the different actions listed here. I just copied the picture from a scan of the start here rules to put it onto this first page. And then rules of the high seas, those are important to look at. And I think there were a few that I added. The 2-action limit one was a big rule that was finally made official in Savage Shores, but it had been a house rule for a while. So I added that to rules of the high seas. There's basically a few things from the pirate code that I added to this basic rules document, and there's some other stuff that I changed or added as well. So most of the other rules of the high seas are the same. And then we go to the second page here and see creating a fleet. So that's another picture I copied. And then for the fleet section, I made sure to underline that any build total can be chosen because I love huge games, so I don't think people should be limited to 40 points or 30 or 50 or whatever. And then there's a few other ones that I added too, and then specifically I added the no duplicates rule because that's actually not in the complete game rules. It's a pretty common rule, but and then for the setup, I added a few notes about round earth and flat earth because that wasn't specified. That's something that's been around for a long time as well, but I wanted to put it in the document. And then here, normally the player who rolls the highest is the first player, and then I like to do it so that everybody rolls though, so then you just don't go from left to right necessarily, because I think it's kind of boring, and I think everybody should have a chance at rolling to go first. So if you get a 5, you shouldn't be discounted just because somebody else got a 6. You should go second if that's the case. But then I did a little thing here to say, or you could do it the original way, which is the player to the left of the first player is the second player. And then placing islands, this one is pretty much the same. What I did say here, you'll notice this last sentence, normally you're supposed to put the islands 3L away from each other, but I think that's far too restrictive. And also, the closer the islands are, the more combat there usually is, and usually the game is faster paced and more exciting. So I said just at least 1L, which is really close together. So as long as they're at least 1L, but not more than 6L, which is a big distance. But I think going closer than 3L between islands is a pretty good idea for the most part. And then mysterious islands, placing terrain. Like I said, most of this is just copied. I pretty much copied the complete game rules and then went through each thing and determined whether or not I wanted to change things or not. And then, for example, here, choosing home islands. This one is a little weird because I usually don't play by the official rules on this. I usually do the or part, this part at the end, this is how I usually play it. The last player to go in the turn order chooses their home island first, followed by the second to last player. I like doing that in multiplayer games because you have more control over the islands you pick, and it gets a little weird and slightly confusing if you do it the other way. In two-player games, I do like playing by the I usually, not always, but I usually like playing, especially for like Vassal Tournament number 2, because that's like an official tournament and everything. I like playing by the standard rules for that, where you pick your opponent's home island. And then Mysterious Islands, didn't really have to change anything with that, I don't think. Placing crew and equipment. So this one, some of the different complete game rules didn't talk about equipment in terms of cargo, so I made sure to put like and or equipment onto all of it. So I just changed that a little bit. And then a crew with a point cost of 0 can be assigned only to a ship that shares its nationality. The links was pretty basic. That didn't really need to be changed. Placing treasure. This one is really interesting because I think it's a little boring to have 16 coins worth 30 gold. So I just said for a 40-point game, each player should contribute an equal amount of coins of any value or type, because I think this is more interesting. It makes the game more random. A lot of people like this. Wolf is one of the ones that does it as well. And then, of course, I added this in at the end because you could still play by the original official rules and stuff like that. Or you could specify that each player contributes like 5 coins worth 20 gold or something like that. So, and then UT is pretty basic. And then actions. These I didn't change a lot. I did add a little, again, I have little things that I added throughout the document. So you can measure anything at any time, because that's completely legal. And then here, a lot of people forget that if a ship has a base move of L, you have to measure the helmsman plus S bonus after the L, because you're supposed to move the entire base move first and then do bonuses. So if it has a base move of L with a helmsman, you can't move S plus L, you have to do L and then S. But then if it's SL as the base move, you could move LS. It just depends on what bonuses you have, movement bonuses. And then derelicts, pretty basic. Docking, loading treasure, mysterious islands. And then this one is pretty basic. Ramming, this is one of the biggest changes I'd like to do, is that I did away with ram damage. So you'll notice she rams that ship, and then it doesn't say anything about eliminating masts because I think it's unrealistic. And as far as stuff I've read, I don't see where ramming another ship would knock down a mast very often. So I think it's pretty unrealistic. And I think ramming is a little too powerful for how easy it is. This also helps smaller ships. 1 and 2 masters are usually kind of overpriced for what you get in this game. So doing away with ram damage helps those ships out a lot too. So that's nice. But then of course you can still board and you still become pinned from ramming. So doing away with ram damage is one of the biggest changes I like to do. And then here we go. This is the other big change, or one of the other big changes. So if you win a boarding party, realistically, the winner should choose whether or not they eliminated a crew or take a treasure. And if you win a boarding party against a ship, you wouldn't settle for the lowest treasure that they give you. You would want to ransack the ship and go find the best stuff while you're still in control of the ship before you head back to your own. So I like to have the winner choose the treasure after they look at all the gold on the other ship. But then if the winner got to pick which crew gets eliminated, that would be way too easy to totally change things up and like eliminate Davy Jones when there's like 5 other crew. So I think the loser should still pick on which crew to eliminate. And if not, then oarsmen would also become less useful because often they're used as like sacrificial crew to protect higher value crew on the ship. So the ramming and boarding rules really got changed. So no ram damage, and the winner picks with boarding unless it's crew being lost. And then towing is pretty basic as well. Most of this isn't changed. I'm pretty much just doing this video to go over the changes and kind of as like a summary to see if you might want to use these basic rules in the future, if you like the changes I've made, and also in case somebody ever brings it up, you'll have a better idea of like what house rules I like, because I do play a lot. Exploring is pretty simple as well. Shooting, sinking, scuttling. I don't know if there were any changes in here, I don't think. And then repairing, Keywords. So this one, the keyword gets a little weird because in the complete game rules for the different sets, there was usually a list of keywords specific to that set, which gets really confusing because if you don't have a copy of the master keyword list, preferably like a printed copy for playing physical games, then you would be searching through different rule books to find certain keywords, which is pretty annoying. So I just have a little thing about this, and then just a super short thing. I didn't want to take up space to save, so I didn't make the document go too long, and then have the master keyword list as like a separate document. That's how I think it should be done. So that's what I did there. And forts here. So now we're on to the 4th page, and then on to the 5th here. So this is pretty basic as well. I think I had a line about up higher about how gold can stay face down when it's brought back to your home island, even in 2-player games, because I don't really see much point in revealing it. And it doesn't, again, realistically, it doesn't make much sense. So a lot of these changes are based on history and just making the game a bit more realistic without really compromising the gameplay. I don't think doing away with ram damage really is that devastating. I mean, if you rely on ramming, but I don't think you should, because realistically it shouldn't be that great of a tactic. And then shooting, abandoned forts, destroying terrain. There were a few changes I made to terrain. I made sure to include all the different types here. And there's a few that are changed, but mostly these are the same. Shipwreck, Sargasso Sea, trade current, whirlpools. This is the main change that I did here. So on a result of 1 to 3, eliminate a mast, segment, treasure, crew. So this one is normally, it says on a 4 to 6, but that would mean you want to roll low, which is really strange for this game because you almost always want to roll high. So I changed it to a 1 to 3 so that a low roll would be bad going through a whirlpool, which is much more in line with pretty much all other die rolls you make in the game, just about. And then arguably the biggest change I made in these rules is this section, winning the game. So I don't really like the more than half treasure rule, where if you get 16 gold, you win automatically. I think that's pretty limited and not very optimal. So I like to have the game go a bit longer until kind of like playing until there's a clear winner. So the game ends immediately if all available gold has been unloaded at home islands, or only one player is able to give any future move actions to any other ships, or you could do half or more in a multiplayer game with like 4+ players, which is fine. But I like to play until all gold is gone, or there's only one fleet remaining. And then here, I have, even for 2-player games and multiplayer games, I have gold value of all treasure on home islands and in the forts. And then treasure on a ship still doesn't count though. And then the tiebreaker thing, I made sure to do something. I added something from the pirate code about most remaining units in play. So there's a lot of different tiebreakers you can use. The ones I like the best are usually most remaining points in play, which means like if you have a ship, you can total up the points and any available crew on the ship and things like that. So points in play is pretty much my favorite tiebreaker at the end with the same amount of gold points, but you could do total mass standing, gold on remaining ships, so you could then include ships that are not docked or whatever. And then of course, yeah, like I said, from the pirate code, I added the thing about the units. So a unit is a game piece that can be directly given at least one of the 4 primary actions. So that's a pretty decent tiebreaker as well. I like points in play the best, but I've made sure to include other ones based on other people's preferences and things like that. And I made sure to say like mutually agreed upon. So if people don't like it, you could do a vote. You could do a vote to see which tiebreaker you want to use for that game or whatever, or overall before you start the game. And then made sure to put this little thing in there too. I think that's from the pirate code, I think. So if you eliminate the opposing fleet, they do not automatically win. They do not automatically get any uncollected gold remaining in play, because that pretty much breaks the game, and it makes combat fleets more viable, which is okay. The problem is when you get like HMS Grand Temple and the Sand Cristobal and ships like that, and you just go wreck everybody, it's not much fun for them, and then you get the gold, which doesn't make a lot of sense either. So I made sure to include that there. And then sea creatures, a lot of people probably know I don't really like sea creatures very much. And in the complete game rules, this was like on like the first or second page. It's like way up high, which I don't really understand because most of them are rare game pieces, and most of them stink, so they're not very good in the game. So I strongly felt that this should have either been excluded or moved to the back. So this is the last page. This is the bottom of the last page right here. So I moved sea creatures all the way to the back where they should be. And this is an interesting topic because I think the sea creature versus sea monster distinction is really confusing. But based on time and not really knowing exactly how to resolve it quite yet, I put that to the side for now. But I think changing the sea creature rules is still an interesting idea. You'd have to rework. You'd probably eliminate the rules that you see here and then rework the different keywords, but I haven't done that yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to or not. But basically, that's my basic rules document. I'm going to put a link to the description below to the files on Board Game Geek and also probably to my fan site at Weebly. And I'll end with a question of the day, which in this case is, what house rules do you use in your games? And also, have you created like custom rule sets or variant rule sets and things like that? And if you like these basic rules, feel free to say so and leave a like and subscribe if you want. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.